Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's discussion in this new year 2021. I hope you all are blissfully looking forward to this new year, which surely God is going to make conducive to our devotional service and will empower us to get engaged more and more in the devotional service at His lotus feet. Today we are going to begin chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita as it is, the Yoga of the Supreme Person. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamam vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hari Om Tat Sat. Verse 1. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Urdhvamula Madha Shakham Ashwatham Prahuravyayam Chandamsi Yasya Paranani Yastam Veda Savedavit. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upwards and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. Verse 2. Adhara chordhvam prasitastasya shakha guna pravridha vishaya pravalah adhascha molanya nusantatani karmanu bandhini manushya. The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of the senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. Verses 3 and 4 are together. Narupamasya tathopalabhyate nanto na chadirna cha sampratishta ashwathamenam suviruda moolam asanga shastrena dridena chitva. Verse 4. Tatah padam tat parimargitavyam yasmin gatana nivartanti bhuya tameva chadyam purusham prapadye yatah pravritti prasrita purani. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. Verse 5. Nirmana moha jitasanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha dvandvayorva vimuktaha sukha dukkha sangyer gacchantya mudha padam avyam tat. Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who also understand the eternal, who are done with the material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. Verse 6. Na tadbhasyate suryo na shashanko na pavakah yad gatva na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. That supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by the fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. So we finished the three modes of material nature last time, and now we are going to commence chapter 15, which, if you remember, we had been reading in the Purushottam month as well. Throughout the Purushottam month, we were reciting from chapter 15 as well. And in this chapter 15, Bhagwan is telling us that the material world is, I'm afraid, not in a good category. It is considered to be bad. Krishna is good. And thirdly, Krishna is going to tell us how to connect with him. So Krishna is going to give us the key today in chapter 15. As we progress, we will learn that how to connect with Krishna and how to realize that the spiritual world is better than the material world. In these verses 1 to 6, Krishna is going to tell us how to attain the liberation by detachment. And the analogy is given of the upside down banyan tree. So let us begin. In verse 1, Krishna tells us that there is an imperishable banyan tree, a banyan tree which is indestructible. Its roots are upwards. That means it is upside down. In other words, the leaves are at the bottom and roots are towards the sky. Its branches are down. Its leaves are the Vedic hymns, the Vedic mantras, and one who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. The Vedas are the only leaves of these trees, and this tree has got many other parts. So, importance of Bhakti Yoga has been discussed with Arjun, and now Krishna is going to talk about what is Vedas, and in this chapter, the purpose of studying the Vedas to understand Krishna will be discussed. The one who is Krishna consciousness, the person who is completely dedicated to the service, devotional service of the Lord, is known to be already the knower of the Vedas. He or she doesn't have to sit down and go through the Vedas, because as we know, the Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita is the essence of Puranas, Upanishads, all the Vedas has been given in Srimad Bhagavad Gita itself. So we don't have to waste our time reading so much literature. If you haven't got time, Bhagavad Gita as it is more than enough. But if you have got time, you can read the other books by Srila Prabhupada, which have been given in authentic way to us in so many languages. And if you haven't got the hard copies, you can always read from the vedabase.com or just Google and ask for Srila Prabhupada's books. There's so many links will come up. And the entanglement with the samsara, material world, is compared to the banyan tree. So the one who is only engaged in the karam kandas and is just looking for the phala or the fruits of his activities, that person is completely entangled. There is no end. He will be wandering, so as to say, from one branch to another. He will be going from dal to dal, like they say in Hindi, and he will be properly stuck. There is no possibility of liberation for such person. The trees of this tree, the roots of this tree, they grow upwards. So normally the tree is situated in the earth, but this material tree, the banyan tree, is upside down. The roots are facing upwards, and they begin from where Brahmaji is located, the topmost planet of this universe. So Brahmaji belongs to our planet. He was, and he's one of the most exalted persons amongst all of us. And this tree of illusion should be understood by all. That is, by understanding it, that is the only way to get out of this material world. You could say that is the confirmation from Krishna as that calendar picture fell down. And we have to understand this process. Krishna has been talking to us since the beginning about this process, that how devotional service can be begun just by knowing that we are the soul, not the body, and then understanding Krishna to be the controller, the proprietor, maintainer, and of course the annihilator of the world. Now, this tree can be seen besides a reservoir of water, a lake or a pond or river. It will be difficult to see if the river is very fastly flowing very fast, but on a lake or pond you can see it clearly. When you see the shadow of the tree, you will see that the leaves will be facing downwards and the tree will be facing, the roots will be facing upward. If you can chance, you can have a look. I will also try to put a picture at the beginning of this recording when I put it on the YouTube, so you can also see that upside down tree, how it looks like. Desires are the root cause of all the problems in this world, and we should know how to just navigate our desires towards Krishna, to bring Krishna in the center of our lives. And this tree is the reflection of the real tree. When you see the picture in the water of a tree, that is the reflection of that real tree, but it is an exact replica, but it looks upside down. So everything is there in the spiritual world, what we see here in this material world. It is worth paying attention to if you can. Everything is there in the spiritual world, what we see in this material world, but unfortunately everything is perverted or upside down. So in this way, everything is perverted. So everything looks different than how it is actually. So the Prakriti is the external energy of the Lord. Purusha is the Supreme Lord himself, which has been explained in the Bhagavad Gita earlier on. And the reflection is temporary. Reflection of the material world is temporary. It is not permanent. But unfortunately, when under the influence of the three modes of material nature, as we were reading earlier on in chapter 14, and also thanks to the senses and mind, which are constantly engaging with each other, we are always fooled into believing that what we see around the Maya or the material world is permanent, but actually it is not. And when a person, he or she understands the impermanence of this Maya, of this material energy of the Lord, then that person is known to be a knower of the Vedas in true sense. So what is the purpose of the Vedas? It is actually, this Vedic knowledge is here to cut this reflected tree which we see, the Maya which we see around, and we have to try to reach to the real tree which is in the spiritual world. That banyan tree, that is our goal, because the tree, that spiritual tree in this material world is looking upside down, is completely perverted. Not chapter 2, verse 2, Bhagwan is telling that the branches of this tree extend downward and upward. It's nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of the senses, that is the branches, and the tree also has the roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. So the banyan tree is explained further here, that the modes of material nature, they are actually nourishing this banyan tree, which we are seeing completely upside down, which is the reflection of the spiritual tree. Spiritual banyan tree, it is not how as it looks like. The branches are extending downwards. The twigs are the objects of the senses. And that those little stems, we won't call them the stems, the extensions of the branches. They are the twigs. They are the senses, the objects of the senses, and the modes of material nature. They nourish this tree, and whichever mode is prominent in a person, this is how they are going to nourish the tree they are seeing. And the senses we will enjoy, and the different objects we will see, that the twigs are the objects of senses on the tree. So whichever mode is prominent in us, we will be enjoying the objects more in that mode of nature. Could be passion more, or could be ignorance more, or could be the mode of goodness is highlighted in you. It all depends which mode is prominent in yourself. So the tips of the branches Prabhupada is explaining to us are the ears, nose, eyes, our senses. That is the twigs. And the twigs are sound. Sorry, the twigs are the object of senses. So there, the twigs are sound, form, touch, and so on. These are the object of the senses. And suffering and enjoyment is coming as a byproduct of these object of senses when they are being enjoyed by our senses. And then the piousness and impiousness will result eventually, as we know, when we will be enjoying our senses. And the real root is from the Brahmaloka, as was explained, because the spiritual tree is looking upside down to us. So the roots are in Brahmaloka. And according to the activities enjoyed in the upper planets, we come down to this planet Earth, to renew our karma, to indulge in more karma, and then to eventually start making our next body, because our karma dictates what kind of birth we are going to take next life. And as been told earlier in Bhagavad Gita, that this planet of us human beings is the field of the activities, or this is the kshetra where we do all our karma. In verses 3 and 4, Bhagavan is saying that the real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Therefore, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns. So, ultimately, what is our goal? That we want to go to the planet where we can be serving Lord permanently, and we don't want to fall down again from that spiritual planet and come back to this Martyalok, or the Mrityulok, or the material world. So we seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. So we are actually cut off from what binds us to this world. Then the material world will always remain here, but we have to cut off from it and go to the place where Lord is, to serve him permanently, because we should realize what is our position. We are the children of that Father, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Our place is not here. This is just a training ground for us. This is where we fell down because we didn't want to serve him up there, or maybe we were in lower species, or we got promoted to the high species. So what it is that we have to understand our true situation and slowly try to get detached from the false reflection of reality, what we see in this world. That's why this world is called illusion. That's why it's called full of Maya. And we have to remember where is the real tree, where is the real banyan tree, and we have to make all kinds of endeavors to make our way back there. Lord is the original root. Everything has come from the Lord. Aham sarvasya prabhava, Krishna says, I am the origin of everything. So we have to cut out this entanglement of this material life and surrender to Krishna and go back to Krishna Lok to serve Lord. In verse 5, Krishna is giving us the surrendering process. Krishna says, those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand that eternal, who are done with the material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who unbewildered know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to the eternal kingdom. It's a very beautiful verse. Verse 5, chapter 15. So Krishna has given us a surrendering process here. Krishna is telling that we can detach ourselves from the material world and then become attached to Krishna. It's easier to become attached to Krishna, and by that we become detached from the world. So this is the surrendering process, that we have to cut our attachments from this world. We have to live here until we have our life. We have to do everything, but we should understand that everybody has got Paramatma in them, in their hearts, and we have to try to rise above the bad qualities which we get due to the modes of material nature and the engagement of a mind with them, the pride, the envy, the anger, the lust, and all so on and so forth. And we have to cultivate the knowledge and try to start performing our devotional service. And until and unless we have got some pride and some delusion in our minds, we won't be able to surrender. Like Prabhupada says, the devotional service can start in few seconds or few minutes. All you have to do is to surrender to Krishna, to understand that Lord is the master of everything. And then we can easily understand our short stay here on this planet and understand why we are here, and get free from the effects of our mind, the senses, and rise above our false ego. False ego is that when we start thinking ourselves to be the controller, the doer, and we think that we are the one who is controlling everything. Then all this happens. So we have to rise above that, and that is going to happen when we will be able to surrender to Krishna. And that is the only way to find peace in this world. Verse 6, Bhagavan saying that supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by the fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. The spiritual abode of personality, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is called the Krishna Lok, the Golok Vrindavan. The Vrindavan on this earth is the replica of it. Don't see the Vrindavan in its present state with your material eyes. See with the spiritual eyes as you read the pastimes in Bhagavatam and as you hear the Bhagavad Gita. So in the spiritual sky, Bhagavan says there is no need for sunshine or moonshine, fire or electricity, because all the planets are illuminated by themselves. They are self-illuminated, self-luminous, and the shining effulgence of those planets is called Vaikuntha, and it constitutes the shining sky known as the Brahma Jyoti. I will repeat, the shining effulgence of those planets is called Vaikunthas, and it constitutes the shining sky known as the Brahma Jyoti. It's given in the purport of chapter 15, verse 6, which we are covering now. And the part of the shining effulgence is covered by the Mahat Tattva, the material world. Other than this, the major portion of the shining sky is full of spiritual planets, and they are called Vaikunthas. Chief of the Vaikunthas is called Golok, Vrindavan, that is the topmost planet, which is where Krishna is there always, is residing there always. So as long as we are in the conditioned lives, as long as we are covered with Maya, our knowledge is covered, the soul is all Satchidanand Vigraha, just like the Lord. But as long as the knowledge is covered, and we are just looking at the perverted tree, the spiritual tree to be the perverted tree in this world, and we are more and more entangled into that perverted tree, perverted banyan tree in the material world, then it is going to be very difficult to liberate ourselves. So we have to get the knowledge and get free from this conditioned feeling, conditioned life for our soul, and then we have to become eligible to enter the spiritual kingdom and become the servitors of the Lord, associates of the Lord, so that our souls can enjoy the eternal bliss, eternal life, and full knowledge as Lord is enjoying there. And this is what our goal is in this life. So unless and until we are too attached to this material world, it is very difficult to become detached and become Krishna consciousness, to become servant of Krishna. So this society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, as Prabhupada says, is dedicated to explain this to everyone. This is start of a new year, and you can join your local temple. There are always classes to explain this to the ones who are very fairly new into this process, and you can have association with like-minded devotees as well. There's Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita classes there daily. There's beautiful deities as well. If it's a temple, it's not a center only, then you can see the beautiful deities of Bhagwan, and you can learn how to offer simple devotional service at home to your own deities when you get your own deities. And of course, there's all sorts of books written by Prabhupada and his disciples and his grand disciples. They are also in the temple. Then sometimes there is Govinda's restaurants as well there, where you can have sometimes change. You can get rest from cooking, say, and you can enjoy the prasad there, because everything which is sold there is offered to the Lord first. So you can enjoy the sattvic food there as well. And there's so much more in the shops there to look at in the local temples. So in this new year, you can make this your resolution that yes, I'm going to serve the Lord in the best of my ability, and I'm not going to stop where I am. I'm going to slowly increase my serving propensity, my serving abilities. I'm going to improve them. I'm going to polish them. I'm going to inquire more and more about the Lord, so that my devotional service goes higher and higher. And I will also try my best to follow the Ekadashis as per the health I am situated in. And just say that I'm going to read at least 15 minutes a day, or hear at least 15 minutes a day about the Lord. And chapter 14 told us that how the three modes, they contaminate when they come into coming in the contact with when we come in the contact with the material world. These three modes, they just contaminate us properly, and how the only way to conquer those modes is the devotional service of the Lord. And devotional service of the Lord is the only thing which is going to transcend us, take us beyond this conditioning of our selves. So Bhagwan, when he says in this verse 6 that Paramam Mama Tad Dhama, Paramam Mama, that everything is Bhagwan's property. Everything on this world, all the planets, the skies, wherever we just look at from our naked eyes or with the microscopes or the not so the microscopes, microscopes as well. So what we can't see, we can look from there. And from the telescopes, we'll see everything is the property of the Lord, and the spiritual world is Paramam. Everything is property of the Lord, but spiritual world is the topmost. It is full of all the 6 opulences and beauty, form, enunciation, wealth, knowledge, and so on. And the Katha Upanishad 2.215 also confirms that the spiritual world, there is no need for sunshine, moonshine, or stars. Na tatra suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam. For the whole spiritual sky it's illuminated by the internal energy of the Supreme Lord. That supreme abode or that supreme place can only be achieved by the surrender to the Lord, and there is no other way to achieve that. So this is what Lord told us in verse 6. In verse 5, Lord gave us the formula for surrendering, that we have to become attached to Lord, then only we'll have the love to perform devotional service to Him. And in verse 6, Lord has told us that His abode, where He is situated in the Golok Vrindavan, which is the topmost of the Vaikunthas, is the topmost planet, and it is the whole spiritual sky is illuminated by the potency of the Lord. So thank you for joining on this first day of 2021. I again wish you all a very blessed year ahead in your devotional service. And yes, in famous words of Srila Prabhupada, chant and be happy. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.